one of the things that is very easy to do, and I don't say easy, but I say there's been practice. I've coached a lot of people. But one of my first mentors and coaches who coached me through addiction said, it's very easy to be a coach if you're authentic to who you are. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, you never have to worry about clients because you only coach what you've been through.
Yeah, sure.
And so you only attract. And so when people come to me and they're like, hey, I'm thinking about getting a divorce. I'm like, okay, I've been through that.
Been there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Addiction. Yeah.
Welcome to the House of Jermar podcast, where wellness starts within. The House of Jermar is a lifestyle brand empowering women to live all in through interior design and personal wellness. We are a destination for women ready to reimagine what is possible in their homes and lives and then create it. We are honored to have you join us on our mission to empower 1 million women to live all in. I am your host, Jean Collins, and I invite you to become inspired by this week's guest. Welcome to the House of Jermar podcast, where wellness starts within. I'm your host, Jean Collins, and today we are going to talk to a guest who has the most fascinating background. Today we have Austin Linney on the show. Austin is an entrepreneur. He's a real estate investor. He runs businesses. He's also an incredible mindset coach, and that's how I got introduced to him. So everybody, please welcome Austin to the show. We're going to have a great, funny conversation.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. We also I want to make sure I remember to mention, you also have your own podcast, which is actually really interesting. I've listened to a bunch of your episodes. Your podcast is called Construct Your Life, which is so interesting. And you have these Friday rants, which is also really cool. I can totally relate to those. So we're going to dig into that a little bit as well. But I would love if you could share with everybody. Your bio is deep and I want to say in some ways dark. But I would love if you could share the highlights of your background of how you got to be where you are today. And that is a very loaded, large question, folks.
Yeah. So it has a lot to do with methamphetamines. It has a lot to do with living in a closet. And it has a lot to do with cocaine and alcohol. So I don't know how that was for a starter, but I like to keep it spicy in the beginning.
There you go.
When I was 17 years old, my parents came to me and they said, look, you're getting in too much trouble in school. We don't think this is the place for you anymore. You don't seem to really. I have a photographic memory, but I just didn't care about school. And so they said, you need to go to Beaumont or you need to go to the military school. And I said, well, I don't know where either one of those places are, but one of them is in Texas. It's where my parents grew up, which is by the border where all the oil's from. And I was like, okay. But I'll go there. So we go there. I went from living on a country club with a maid in the house to living on 5 acres in a 500 square foot house with my mom. So I went from 4,200 kids in my school to 140. And so it was just like at 17, middle of my junior year, it's a whole thing. And then 2 months after that, my dad drives in from Houston and says, we're getting a divorce. My parents had never fought in front of me, I think. At least I think as a kid. I don't remember. And so I proceeded to blame myself because I was a bad kid. And then they didn't correct me, which they later apologized for, 20 years later.
Of course.
But then I proceeded to feel lost and stuck. And my dad got remarried quickly. And, he was with his new family and I felt left behind. Started working in the restaurant business. And that's when I fell in with anybody, who would hang out with me and kind of give me validation. And that's where the drugs and alcohol got introduced into my life. I was always, a good kid per se. And I think the problem with drugs, especially back when that was going on, it's a little different now, I think. But, you just do it on the weekends. When you're working, it's not like, it's just the restaurant business. Like back in the day, like that's just what we did. But the problem is those weekends started turning into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays. And that's when the problems, started arising. But I never missed work, so you're like, it's always this like weird world where you're like messed up, but you're still getting all your stuff done. So nobody can complain, but they know you're not right. And so you're kind of like, you're kind of doing these things. So kind of got to a point where one of the low points for me was I had stayed up for 8 days straight on meth, but I was taking Xanax at night to try to go to bed.
Oh my goodness.
But I couldn't go to bed. So I was like living in this like half awake, half world. And so on day like 7, I started seeing rabbits, but there was no actual rabbits. And so, so what happened was I was at work. I don't know why I was there. I shouldn't have been there. I wasn't working. I was trying to eat because I hadn't eaten much the whole time. And an ex-girlfriend had saw me and I had lost some weight. And she was like, "Hey, this ain't you. I don't know what's going on with you. Like, you look like shit, like blah, 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 blah." And for whatever reason, that was like the big wake up call from somebody. So I went home that day, sobered up the next day, packed up all my stuff and left. And I never did hard drugs again. I just like quit it right then.
You just quit.
I just quit. Like, I have this weird mind where like it might take me a long time to get to the point because I'm very stubborn, but like when I do, it's like, it's done. But the problem is that I moved to Austin and I started working in another restaurant. The problem is that the drugs just led into me abusing alcohol. Oh, good. I wasn't abusing, this anymore, but that proceeded for me to be a functioning alcoholic for almost 20 years.
Wow.
And so, but the issue being is like, that was my job. Like, I was a server of booze and I made drinks and I sold wine. And so you're just kind of like, hey, this is what I do. I taste wine for a living and I sell wine. So, and so it's so acceptable, especially in society. Now it's getting a little more, people are looking into it more on the booze stuff. But yeah, so I've been sober, as we're recording this, I've been sober 6 years and 2 weeks.
Congratulations.
So 36 years old, kind of decided to, lost 70 plus pounds. I got laid off from my private equity. This is all during COVID. I got laid off from my private equity job. I got separated from a 13-year marriage, and I started my podcast in a 10-day stretch.
Wow. So
it's been this kind of like transformation, and I kind of fell into coaching. It wasn't something I wanted to do. It was something I wanted to do, 10 years from now. But I had a guy during COVID. He said, "I need some accountability." And I said, "Yeah, I'm not doing that, but thanks, man. I appreciate it." And he goes, "Well, I already sent you the money in your Venmo account, so you better figure it out."
No way.
Yeah. So that's how I got my first client. And that kind of took off from there.
Did you have any idea what you were doing in terms of how to be a coach?
Oh, no. I'll tell you, true story. True story. This is a true story. I'm helping a guy. I'm toying around with the idea, not getting paid for it. I'm coaching people for free, toying around with it, working through some stuff, right? I get on a call with a guy from our group, our mastermind we were in. This is a true story. I get on a call. We're within 2 minutes. He's got 3 kids and he goes, "I want to leave my wife." And I literally, I felt my heart 20 feet behind me because in that moment, okay, this isn't playtime. This is real. This is people's lives. You are involved in their life 100%. I've helped people through addiction. I've helped dads. I've helped my clients' dads through addiction and get sober. I've helped people through divorce and all these things. And so in that moment, I took it very seriously. But I always said to myself, I said, look, as long as you do what your heart thinks is the right best thing, I think you're going to be all right. And so those first couple of years, man, I was just banging around in the dark with coaching people, but I cared so much that I've grown through the whole thing. And then I got some training from a group and I've been through the levels and I worked on my own stuff. And since then we've kind of refined it, but yeah, no, it was, this is true. Another true story. I couldn't get my second client to save my life. Like I got the one and I was like going through this thing. And so a mentor at the time this is a true story. I think he was making like $400,000 a month with his businesses. I mean, the dude's a killer.
Oh my goodness.
The guy's a monster. Like, I mean, he's the man. Like, he's the man, like very successful. He said, "I'm going to hire you to coach me." And I was like, no. I said, what am I? No. He goes, same thing. Money's already in your Venmo. Better figure it out. I'm like, what am I going to do? And so I want to vomit, leading up to this call. You can barely get him on the phone. I don't know what I'm going to do. And so right before the call, I go, wait, he's not hiring me to coach him in his business. He knows his business. He's hiring me to see something that he can't see. And so I said, I don't know what I'm going to see, but I'm going to see it. And so we talked for like 45 minutes and it's basically like him just getting stuff off of his chest and like talking about life. And then like right at like the last end of the call, I like I hit him with something. It hit him like it got to the heart, and he goes, "All right, that's what I needed. Thanks," and just gets off the call. Like it was like that was what that whole call was about, like seeing it. And one of the things that is very easy to do, and I don't say easy, but I say there's been practice. I've coached a lot of people, but one of my first mentors and coaches who coached me through addiction said, it's very easy to be a coach if you're authentic to who you are. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, you never have to worry about clients because you only coach what you've been through.
Yeah, sure.
And so you only attract. And so when people come to me and they're like, hey, I'm thinking about getting a divorce. I'm like, okay, I've been through that.
Been there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Addiction. Yeah. We're going to talk about that. Yeah. And so I think a lot of people, what they do when they, even in business or in coaching, I think they stretch for things they shouldn't be talking about.
Right.
I think they do things they shouldn't be doing. It's like, and I'm just as guilty. Like you're taking on in the HVAC plumbing business, that's a big contract. We should do that. And then you get like 6 months in and you're like, yeah, we shouldn't do that. We should, that's a client that we shouldn't work for because that doesn't match for what we want to do. And I don't think people have taken enough time to sit down and go, okay, now what do I really want? Because I'm sure you're at this point in your career too. People ask me all the time, like, what do you want? And I said, I just want peace.
Yeah.
I don't like drama. I don't do drama. My life was really dramatic. Like, do you know how much work it is to get sober? It's very dramatic. Like you leave a 13-year marriage, you get laid off. Like there's a lot of mess. Like I'm engaged now and she's amazing. We've been together for a long, like all that stuff. Like I just want to work with great clients who want to do the work. If they don't, that's cool. Then you're not going to work for me. I want to do business with people that want to do business, that have a big vision. But, it's this frictionless kind of thing, right? Like, I don't think people, this is what I say to business owners all the time. When was the last time that you experienced your business?
That's an interesting question. Like,
when were you a customer?
Right. It's a very interesting question.
Yeah, because you're sitting up here in your room and you're saying, oh, these spreadsheets and no. When were you a customer last for your business?
Yeah.
Like, okay, and I'm just, guys, if you don't know, I own HVAC plumbing company. That's not here and there. I'm saying that it's -4 today where I am. Okay. and a lot of our community is older, right? Okay. And their kids don't live here and they take care of them. Right. And so there's a lot of stress that they're 3 states away. And so when they call us, do they feel like they're heard? Do they feel, can they trust Jim going over and taking care of his old parents and not taking advantage of them? Like there's so much there. And if you haven't lived on the front lines of your business in a long time, then you don't even know how that feels when you're creating that, right?
Right. When you're talking about the importance of connecting. And it's, connecting to your clients no matter what you're doing and connecting with other people. And you had mentioned this, it's all about living life from the heart, right? And that's what's going to make you a good coach is just to follow your heart. And I know I personally am like definitely working on that. One of my hugest intentions of the year is connecting to my heart and really following my heart as the guide to get me just where I want to go, and even not necessarily knowing where I want to go. But if I'm following my heart, then that will unfold, and don't necessarily worry so much about the end game of that. Just focus on the journey. And if you connect with your heart, and in business, I find, especially the older I get, I'm like, I don't have any tolerance for people who are rude and mean and like, hello, we're all just human beings trying to live life. And it doesn't have to be as hard as some people are trying to make it.
Mm-hmm. So what's interesting, right, is your job and what you do is 99% harder than what we do. Okay. And hear me out. What I do is sell something that you can't see.
Yeah.
You can only feel. Mm-hmm. So I could say, hey, we're going to sell you this 9.7, Roto-Rooter. And they're like, cool. Does it turn on when it's cold? Does it turn on when it's hot? Cool.
Sure.
Awesome. We don't care. I had to tell my sales guy all the time. I said, if you don't stop talking about load count to the 80-year-old customers, they don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
This is the right product that I think is best for your home and the price point that you're looking for. Done.
Yeah.
What you're doing, oh man, there is like a visceral pain every day when they wake up and they got to see that thing and they're like, I told her I wanted this thing. And there's so much different, and so I have a theory, right?
Yeah.
Here's my thing I came up with. The farther you get away from the customer, the front end customer, the easier your life can be and the more money you can make.
Yeah. Well, of course.
Well, hear me out. I buy from my vendor. We have a big job. I need $150,000 worth of copper for the job.
Mm-hmm.
He's not getting a review from me. I'm calling him and going, hey, Bob, we need 150,000. Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I got to hope that my guys wore booties. They smiled. They said, thank you. They didn't leave crap around. And then I got to wait for this review. Like I got to do all those things right. And we're maybe going to make a couple grand off of it. And so people don't understand, one of my favorite lines of all time that I came up with is the better you get at cooking, the farther you get away from the kitchen.
Yeah, of course.
Like the thing that you love, the farther you get up in your career, you don't get to do it anymore.
Yeah. But I also find that there are parts of me that don't like that, because the reason why I got into it in the first place doesn't exist anymore.
Yes.
And once you are managing people and at a higher level, it's just such a different experience, and you get back something different from it. And to me, I found what you get back isn't quite as fulfilling and satisfying as what got you into it in the first place.
It's the weirdest thing in the world. Life is so ridiculous.
Yeah. Life is a wild ride. As you told me, life is a wild ride.
Me and my business partners have been wanting to buy a business for a long time. I cut my teeth in real estate for 7 years, got over real estate because lenders, it's the whole thing, but started buying businesses and then dumped money in real estate, flipped a model, whatever. So we do this and we scale from, 16 employees to 54 employees in 16 months. We rebuilt the business triple revenue last year, all these things, right? I've got managers in place in each division. They're killing it. My sales guys are breaking records. Like it's all good. Him and I are bored out of our minds. Like we go our whole life, we wanted this thing. And now we don't know what to do with ourselves. Now, that's not what's happening right now, because I cover like 9 different hats in the business and I'm overseeing a big project right now. But there are times where the team, most of the time, the team doesn't need us. And you're like, wait, that's the thing that you wanted. And you're like, wait, now we're going to have to go start some side hustle business just to keep ourselves occupied.
To keep the interest peaked.
There's only so much golf you could play, Right. And for me, I'll do a podcast, I'll do coaching. I've got 3 other businesses and I still feel like I'm not doing anything, and I'm writing a book, and all these things, right? You're doing all these things and you're like, I'm still not doing anything. But when I know I am, I called my dad the other day and like after like 5 minutes, he goes, hey, look, I'm already exhausted. Everything that you're doing. So like,
I get that all the time.
You're busy, right? But like we just love it. Like I just love it. Like I love talking business. Like it's so crazy to me. Like true story. Met a guy at a conference. He bought a 130-year-old flagpole company. They've supplied the flagpole to the White House.
Cool.
He owns that business. It's just so
random.
Ridiculous. It's like, what? I just find it fun. And so when people are like, don't you get tired of it? Like you worked all day and then you got to go to a networking event. And I'm like, no, it's like really cool. Like, but like it's been a calculated situation to remove the I don't want to's off my calendar. Like it took years of just saying, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. And like the big aha for me was like, I don't like having anything on Fridays. I don't like it.
Interesting.
And I don't like it after 2:00 on Friday, especially. Okay.
Yeah.
So like I get up every morning at 4 a.m., sometimes earlier. Right.
Wow.
I used to coach 13 to 15 clients in a day. I would just coach all day.
Oh my goodness.
Because I would segment out my day. So I do a podcast a day, I do coaching, blah, blah, blah. Some would bleed into the next day. But I don't like Fridays because I like to keep it open. I catch up with people or I do this thing or so on and so on. So I said to myself like, oh, like you'll get there in a couple years. Like you can do that. And then something happened where something fell through that I had to do on Fridays. And I was like, what if I just did it now?
Do it now. Yeah. Why not?
And I was like, no. Like I'm telling myself like, you can't do that. And I was like, but like, what if I did? Like, who's going to be upset? And I was like, oh, I'm just going to do that. And so I just started doing it. And what I realized is like, I am the type of person where I want to go really hard Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, like hard, like work all day. Thursday, start ratcheting it down. And then Friday, ratchet it down a bunch. And then what happens is I'm better equipped to go into the weekend.
Yeah.
Like
Sure.
my buddy jokes about this all the time. He does big stuff for Chase Bank, like big loans. And he goes, look, I'm not saying that I dislike COVID, but he was like, COVID was a little rough for me because like I'm in my office upstairs. I've got a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. I'm yelling at my analyst in Prague about a $500 million loan because he's not doing his job. And I walk out of work and I got a 2-year-old around my ankles.
Right.
He was like, I haven't had the 5 seconds to switch from
1 to the X.
Hey, do your job. Yeah. The stress to be a dad. And so like what a lot of people have forgot is they haven't taken their wind down time. Like because we're now this new world where like everything is 24/7. Social media, crypto, it's like
everything,
So somebody posted the other day on Twitter. I thought it was really great. They said crypto is like a demon. It's like not in the sense of like, it doesn't stop. He goes, you're just like, I just want like a night off, like where I can just like, chill. And so we've created this thing where like nobody does the thing they enjoy anymore because they feel like they always have to be doing it. Like, so when I meet a client, most of the time they're killing it in business.
Yeah.
But their personal life is like shambles.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, what is something that you really love doing? Oh man, I love golfing. When's the last time you did that? 3.5 years ago. Okay.
Ooh.
So here's a circle. Yeah. You're the circle. Here's all the ways you make money. You're really good at that.
Yeah.
But you don't pay any attention to the personal side. And so you wonder why you're burnt out, tired.
Yeah, of course. You need some balance. And I feel you might see this with your clients. Do you feel like your clients come to you because they almost need permission from someone else to tell them that it's okay to make themselves a priority in their lives, especially successful business people?
Yes, I wish you would tell me that right now. That's something I'm working on.
Yeah, it is okay. It is okay to make yourself a priority.
My fiance, this is like, it sounds so trite and so simple to say, like, she's like, like doing things for yourself is like, that means that you love yourself. And I'm like, no, I just do for like others. And I just do, shirt off my back and whatever you need and jump on the phone. And, and she's like, no, like, that's not how it works.
Yeah. You can't be continually giving. You got to give to you too. You have to fit you into that giving bucket.
They need permission to be who they've always meant to be. That's what they need.
Right.
They need permission to put down the mask. Say, you know what? I don't think I want to do that anymore.
Right.
And we're wearing all these hats and they're not even our hats. Right.
Yeah.
And I had a good friend of mine who coaches men for a living. He said, the problem is that everybody's changing the vehicle, but the driver didn't change.
Very interesting analogy. Yeah.
They're all like getting in a different, like I'm in a Hummer sometimes, I'm in a Corvette, but the driver didn't change.
Right.
But we're all hoping that when we find the right vehicle, everything's going to make sense.
Yeah. But it doesn't work that way because you're still the same you. So are most of the people who come to you for coaching, are most of them pretty successful in the business realm because you can relate to their level of success?
Yeah. I mean, most of them are, there's 2 things that I found. It's the craziest thing. I have like 2 groups. Well, the wildest thing is I've been coaching a lot of women lately, which has never happened before. So that's been super interesting.
Yeah.
I think they like the good kick in the butt. I think they like the tough. I normally have 2 sets of clients. One is a young guy who's 23 or 27. He makes good money, but he's soulless. Like, it's just like, I can't keep doing this.
Right.
So we'll start the business or we'll do something different or something like that. Or I coach the 35 and up who have made some money looking for a change. The joke with me is that when you coach with me, a couple things are going to happen. One, you might move to Europe or travel there for about 2 months.
Yeah.
You might get divorced. You might get divorced. You might get married, and you might leave your job. Like, I believe that we get stuck in these patterns. And so, my first kind of couple weeks with them is just to shake it up a little bit, like do something a little different. I like to not have them see me coming. I'm saying it on purpose so you can be offended. Okay. I'm saying it on purpose. 40-year-old plus men, white men. I'm saying it. Okay. Right. You think that you're so sneaky. You think that you have it all figured out. You are so stuck in your patterns and they are so obvious. It's not even funny. They're sitting on their high horse and they're saying, when I get to this revenue number, it's going to be okay then.
The kiss of death. It will be okay when.
But here's what's crazy, right? This is what I asked them to do. I want you to go in front of your family and I want you to ask your 3 or 4-year-old or 6-year-old, when you walk through the door, does your 6-year-old ask you what's in the bank account?
Yeah.
And you say that you're doing it for them. Did they ask you to do these things?
Right.
And so when you admit that this success that you need is for yourself, then we can start.
Right.
Because, it's for them. No. It's for you. And that's okay.
Yeah.
I want a successful company and a big company because I want jobs. I want to give the money away. Yeah. I want to create a ranch where we heal addiction and chronic pain, and I want to host retreats there. Those are the things that I want. Yeah. Okay. So in order to do that, I need a really big company. Okay. And some days I think that I'd rather just move to Nepal and disappear. But, hey, it's each
okay.
to their own. So you're giving them the permission to seek something different. You're asking them to become more than they are, which is very hard. And then you're giving them the cover to do it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Which is really powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because most people haven't even taken the time to decide whether or not they want. Because a lot of people are comfortable, right? They're making good money.
Right.
Their marriage is okay. They're in decent shape. It's nothing like crazy. Like the biggest question in life, right? I think I could read every book in the world and not understand it. Why does it take us hitting a brick wall doing 179 to change?
Yeah, it does. Right. Because most of the time it's good enough. Mm-hmm. And people feel like, I shouldn't be striving for more or striving for different because how is this not good enough?
I'm obsessed with this concept of good to great. I've read all the Jim Collins books. I've left so many things that were good to pursue something that I think is better for me. And that in between time for it to happen is the scariest thing in the entire world.
Of course.
This is so stupid. Why am I doing this? I had this whole thing over here. And you're just like, what am I? No. And then you're like, oh, okay, this is why I did it.
Yeah, because you have to have a little faith and you got to trust and trust in yourself, which sometimes that's a lot of times where people also go to a coach because they don't trust in themselves. And so they need help to figure out how to do that.
My small business that we bought, and that's you think I'm interesting. IRS, FBI,
oh boy.
You think I'm interesting, has reintroduced me to what faith is.
Interesting. In what way?
And panic attacks. Yeah. Yeah. So
in what way? How do you define faith now?
I define faith as having an ability to believe that you are destined to get through.
Yeah, of course.
And I believe that I thought I could do it all with my own force. Mm-hmm. Surrender Experiment is the book for me. I hit it at the right perfect time.
Yep.
And that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
When you're upgrading your life and you're stepping into more of a coach, investor, mentor role in your business.
Yeah.
Do you know how frustrating it is to me that I have to rely on my livelihood on a bunch of other people? It's I love control, and you're just you're like, Jesus, take the wheel. You're like, we just put a new GM in, and I'm like, have at it, man. But he cares so much. I'm not worried about it. It doesn't mean that he has everything that he needs to be successful, because he'll learn that, but he cares. That's all that matters. But
which is important.
Okay, so I need to let you do the thing. And that's what me and my CEO talk about all the time is it's very hard to know that we could fix a problem in 5 seconds, and we have to just let it play out.
Yeah.
It's the hardest thing in the world. You're like,
but it's so good for your personal growth to let it go.
So I have a good friend who's built a very successful company, and they went from 2 million to 26 million in 4 years buying companies. He said, if you give your employees the answer, it means that you don't care about them growing. And he goes, or you're lazy. And when he told me that, I was like, I'm done. It was on my podcast. I was like, okay, clip that out. I'm just going to listen to that every morning, because it was the truth. I mean, it's the truth.
Yeah.
You no longer possess the skills to care about your employees anymore, if that's the case.
Sure. Because then you might as well just do their job too.
Yeah. And then you might as well have a single business, which is great. I mean, if that's what you want.
Yeah.
But when you're taking on people, you're taking on what's going on in their life.
Yeah.
You're taking on the responsibility of shepherding them. I view, and I say this, it's not a hyperbole. it is my job to protect my employees and steward the business. That's it. And I take that very seriously.
Do people come to you for coaching about how to do that with their businesses? How to be better leaders?
My personal opinion, I think it's something that's catching on. I think it's caught on, but I think it's catching on more and more. I think a lot of people are accidental leaders.
Yeah, right.
Before we bought the business, I knew this was going to be a thing. I read every John Maxwell book.
Yeah.
Every one of them. I spent 6 months on leadership, what it was for me, what I defined it as, what I hated in a leader, that was really rude to me. You have to understand, I'm also in a trade that for the better part of the last 75 years, they thought that yelling was how you got stuff done.
Of course. Right. Of course. Yes. Right.
So it's we're in this new thing where they don't trust me because they think I'm too nice.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of a little edgy too. Where I'll cross them. One time long story. This guy overstepped and was verbally abusing an employee. And I just went crazy. I was get out. Don't you ever speak to anybody like that.
Yeah.
I was don't you ever intimidate somebody again. That is a young kid. Yeah. I just went off a deep end. And I walked in my CEO's office and he's like, "Hey bro, that was a little much." And I was like, no, they need to know that I can go there because it's unacceptable. You will not treat people like that. And that was the only time I ever had to do that.
Yeah.
And it's you're still trying to you're growing up in front of them. This is a true story.
Of course.
So when I got introduced, so I'm going to buy the company. We're under LOI. I'm there to visit, to work out the hammer. So I'm in Texas at the time. I'm flying back and forth to get this deal done. I'm there just to meet the seller and work out the last details. And then I'm going to go home. That's all that was saying. I'm in his home. It's Tuesday morning. He says, No. Let's go meet the team. No. Whoa. No. I want to introduce you. I want to move this along. I'm like, no. I don't want, no. I'm not ready. I don't know what to say. No. We're going to get in. We pop in, we go. So I got, 18, I'm me, I'm 18 people. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to say? Yeah. And he's like, so this is the new guy that's going to buy you, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, so I'm divorced. I'm a former alcoholic and I used to be a drug addict. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
And
it's good. It makes you real.
And afterwards, 4 of them came up to me in recovery. Awesome. Us too. And it was and I was just that's what I'm going to go with. And so it was great because it was okay, cool. I'm not above you. I'm not below you. I'm just human the same, real.
Yeah. You're just a person.
And so one of my, Naval has an amazing quote. He said, the only way to escape competition is to be authentically you.
Which is so important. And that's one of your roles as a coach, is to help people figure out who they authentically are, right?
And most don't even know because they've taken on the label of their parents or their friends or what somebody told them one time when they were 6 years old.
Sure, of course. And they've built a life around that label.
Yeah. And it's got to be exhausting, juggling the plates.
It is.
To make everybody happy.
It is. Now, let me ask you a question. Most coaches I know have a coach. Do you have a coach?
I have been doing a different thing lately.
Yeah. What have you been doing?
I don't have business coaches.
Yeah.
So I have what I consider a mastermind is my business owners who are all successful in different things. So we talk all the time. I've been going the spiritual women's route lately.
The spiritual women's route. Okay, that needs a lot of definition. What is that?
I need work on my feminine.
Okay. Yep.
So my feminine side is very closed off. I'm not speaking to my mother right now. She's not speaking to me. Me and my dad didn't speak for 20 years. So we're back and we talk weekly. So for me, I blacked out most of my childhood. Mm-hmm. And so my fiance is extremely spiritual and faith-based and all this stuff. So for me, I consume a lot of books around business. I consume around a podcast. I don't really want to do that anymore. I am gearing up to be the best father I can be when we eventually have kids.
Love it.
So for me, that's going to take a lot of things. So these it's just happened that way. It's not I was seeking out a woman's coach.
Yeah.
But I've talked to medians.
Yeah.
All the different, modalities, right?
Oh, I do it all. Intuitives, tarot card readers. Yeah. Human design, all of it.
And I'm about to say something that's really going to get some people upset, but I don't really care. It's because you can lie on ever what fence you want with this. But cocaine and meth were my problems. That was my main problems, and alcohol. But when I got divorced, like mushrooms, like saved my life. Like doing that with a shaman and going through the pain of that divorce and rebuilding my life, like that was like my big aha moment. And that kind of like started me on this path. The spirituality side is like still new to me. Like I have my own thoughts about the church and all that stuff like that, right? From a childhood basis. So there's so much there that I'm unpacking and figuring out. So it's just been something I've explored. I'm about to start working with the medical intuitive on my health. So so there's so much there that I'm this is all new to me. It's all very like interesting. So I'm just trying to be open to all of it. I love putting myself in very awkward situations. But I'm very stubborn out the gate. But once I like settle into it, like I'm good. But like I would say, and I got no problem because I'm very open and honest. Me is the hardest thing that exists. Like my personal relationships.
Right.
Like I've been on my own since I was like 17. My family's never really was around. My friends were my family, but they weren't really family.
Right.
And so for me, it's like,
same.
I want to make sure, and this is the hardest thing for me. I want to make sure that my anger, my anxiety, like all those things are like, you know, as cleaned up and washed away as I can, because my fiance, crazy childhood as well too, foster care, drug addiction, all in her family. She's none of that stuff for her.
Yeah.
But we're just so adamant about being great parents. And so to do the work is needed. And it sucks too at the same time, because like you're finding out stuff about like 3 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is tough.
This is like big stuff. It's not like small stuff, and like 4 or 6 and like stuff that you're like, journey
work is tough, especially mushroom journey work.
Yeah. You've completely blacked out. Like true story. I don't remember anything prior to 17 years old. Nothing.
Yeah.
Like it's all just.
And a lot of people who have trauma don't.
So what's happened to me is I'm obsessed with Don Miguel Ruiz. So The 4 Agreements.
Yeah. Great book.
My favorite book, one of my favorite books of all time, is The 5 Levels of Attachment.
Yeah.
All right. And so basically what I realized about 3 months ago on a walk when I was down in Pittsburgh is that everything I believe about my childhood is fake.
Really?
Everything.
What happened that made you realize that? Because that's a big one.
I realized that maybe my parents weren't as happy as I thought they were. Maybe it wasn't as joyous as I thought they were.
Sure,
like all these things, you start peeling things and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
And I wasn't as bad as of a kid as everybody made me out to be. And I didn't like those things. And so I was just like, wait, is it all BS? Oh yeah, I think it's all BS. Okay, well, wait, hold on. Now I don't have anything to hang my hat on. Now I have to rebuild my entire existence of what I believe in. Okay, this is going to take a while. And so you're just like, you know, you're starting to peel back the onions, and you're saying to yourself like, okay, so if that's the case, what do I believe? What don't I believe? Okay, does any of that matter? And maybe I just go from here. Like that. I don't have the answer. It's really weird for me. I'm quick on my feet when I talk, but like I'll hear something. Let's say I hear some bad news or something. Or find out something. It won't hit me for like 2 months later.
Interesting.
Like some random thing you're walking or like, you know, it's just like, boom, you're in a conversation. Like, it's just like, boom. My mind takes a long time to like process it. But like once it's in, it's in. There are some things that I'm going to have to address with my parents that I don't really want to. Of
course.
Like, you know, and there's conversations that are going to have to be had where in the past I've been like, you know what, let's just keep it civil. But like my fiance is like a crusader of truth, and that is not going to transpire, you know?
Good for her.
So I am comfortable saying that I'm excited to see what this looks like 10 years from now. Because it's weirdly weird when you feel like your life just started at 36.
Yes.
And then like really started again at 42. You know, like you feel like you were kind of like figuring it out, getting the right people around you. And only in the last, like I just turned 42 last month. I feel like it's finally like, okay, like we got the right people, got the right vehicle for the business, got the right support. Like, it's like, okay, let's go do work. And so it's very odd when you're a doer your whole life to become a surrenderer. Like it's very hard. Like, and I don't like it. but I'm embracing
well,
it.
you're uncomfortable, but that's where growth happens. Growth always happens in the uncomfortable. So, you know that as a coach, but I commend you for doing the work and for being so honest and vulnerable about the work, because it will be one of the things that will make you such an exceptional coach for other people, because you've done that inner work. Not only have you overcome addiction and all these other things, but you've done the inner work. You're working on the inner work. And so it'll give you a lot of empathy for other people and also help motivate them a little bit to be like, look, I'm doing it. Like, don't give me this BS about why you can't. You can. If you want to, you can.
Yeah. Well, that's what we told. We got a manager who's got to work on some things. And like our CEO and myself were like, hey, like we did this. Like we already did this. Like we're going to tell you it's going to suck, but you're going to be better for it if you embrace it. Right.
Yeah.
You're going to be a better dad. You're going to be a better employee. You're going to be a better friend. Like all these things. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool, man.
Yeah.
And so there's some comfort there to go like, okay, these they've been through it.
They have. Right. Exactly. Which is super helpful. All right. So let's talk about your podcast for a second. Construct Your Life. What made you decide you wanted to become a podcaster and why that subject?
So I was at a real estate conference called Best Ever in Breckenridge, Colorado. There was 700 people there. There was a conference inside, and then there was a circle around the conference room where there was booths set up and people were networking. So this was a month before COVID. I'm sitting there and I'm looking at everybody that people are talking to, and there's like a line of people like waiting to talk to people. And I realized in that moment that every single person they wanted to talk to had a podcast.
Interesting.
And so I had been thinking about it for a while. And so I was talking to this guy I just met, and he's like, hey, you should start a podcast. He's like, I'm just telling you to start a podcast. So while I was at the conference, I'm texting my business partner at the time, and we're throwing around names. And then I'm texting my old bass player who runs a podcast studio. When I used to work in the music business, I was like, hey, I'm going to start this podcast. I'll be home next week. We're going to start recording. Like, I was just like, boom. So we came up with a name. We had the logo before I left. And then when I got back, I got laid off. So what I was doing is I just used it. This is a true story. I was doing 7 to 9 interviews a day, 4 days a week.
Wow.
For the first 11 months.
That's amazing. That's so much content.
I was talking to athletes. I was talking to I was really trying to figure out my life. Like I was traveling, and I had my podcast studio, and I was just traveling around the West Coast. And I just got separated. So I was like hanging out. I met my fiance at the time. This was we started talking midsummer. But I was just interviewing people, and it was an exploration of okay, what are you going to do next? And so I got done, and I'd done all these podcasts the first year. And so one of the things that was really important to me was I wanted to do it for the right reasons. So I told my podcast producers, I said, look, no matter what I do, no matter what I bribe you with, don't let me see how many people downloaded it. Please. I'm begging you. Okay. Don't do it. I'm losing weight right now. I'm not in a mental state where I can handle it because I'll give up. So for 2, I don't think I saw it till year 3.
Wow.
So one day I asked him real hard. I was like, dude, you need to tell me. And he's like, no, you told me not to. And so he said, look, all I can tell you is that every month it's going up and to the right. Good. And I was like, okay, cool. And so there's a concept in Atomic Habits. It's called position thinking versus trajectory thinking. And it's is the thing that you're doing, are you always moving towards it, or are you sitting, neutral? I just started doing the podcast, and that's what we've been doing ever since. And one of the things that I was very cognizant about is I'm a person who likes to talk about a lot of different stuff. And so I wanted to make sure that I didn't niche it down so much that I would run out of topics to talk about. So I think, honestly, if I'm being honest, we kind of stumbled on something that works.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, it's been interesting. First couple of years, it was all real estate in life. Now it's been business in life. So I've kind of grown with it.
Yeah.
And haven't asked my audience to come with me, but they've just watched me grow up. And one of the greatest compliments I ever got was my buddy who's listened to every episode, one of my best friends. He's like, I'm not going to lie to you. He's like, you were a very crappy interviewer in the beginning. He's like, you would talk too much and you wouldn't listen and you would ask, the wrong questions. He's like, but you're absolutely amazing now. Good. And this was at episode 200, 300. And so it's cool to to them see. But then what I realized is it's kind of like a documentation of your life. It's like
It
a
is.
journey, right?
Yeah.
And you give that journey to other people. And it's so important because sometimes we can get jaded because there is so much podcast out there. But I had a good friend, one of my best friends. He said, I sent it to my grandmother. He is a very successful guy who started from nothing in Venezuela. And he goes, my grandmother thinks I'm famous. He goes, and if something ever happens to me, my kids have a documentation of the story of my life.
Love
and that's
it.
when I step back and go, okay, this is a little more important than just flicking record.
Yeah.
And so it's been something that's honestly, it's created everything that you see today is created because of it. The business partnerships,
powerful.
the connections, the opportunities, all of that has happened because of the podcast.
So powerful. So you do a Friday rant. Let's talk about that for a minute. Friday rant.
So it was very spicy in the beginning. I was like going through some stuff. Like even people would be like, I think you should take that down. And I'm like, no, I'm not taking it down. But here's something funny. And I haven't shared this with anybody because but maybe if I say it out loud, I'll have to do it. So the Friday rants are like 3 to 4 minutes of there's no script, there's no nothing. I'm just kind of like riffing and talking about something and it kind of goes where it goes. So we have taken all those, 52 of them, and we're turning it into a book.
I was just going to say it's a perfect book.
It's like life lessons attached to the video, so on and so on. Honestly, it's everybody's favorite. Like I get text all the time. They're like, man, needed that today. Like it's everybody's favorite like that. Yeah. And it's just something that I'm really committed to is like that one will just never change.
Because you just authentically talk about whatever you decide you're going to talk about. And you just are very real and share your opinions, share your thoughts, share your viewpoint. Like you're just really honest about it and vulnerable about it, which I feel like people want that more and more.
I said something during one that's always stuck with me. And it's, you say something in consciousness and you don't even know it sometimes. I said, you want to know something that's never disappointed me? Ever? A sunrise.
I love that.
It was a comment about life and how we don't focus on the right things. Like I've never been disappointed by a sunset or sunrise.
Never. Right? I'm with you.
People ask, they'll ask all the time. They'll say, oh, but they'll like text me something. I'm like, oh, damn, who said that? And they're like, you said that. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I said that? Like, you just kind of let the mind go, and I don't really have an agenda. So it's been something that I really enjoy. I kind of hit on it and like kind of didn't stop it. And I think that's key in the consistency department when it comes to podcast is like, you just have to stick to something.
Yeah. And be doing it for the right reasons. You're doing it because you wanted to do it. And I always say to people, I feel like being a podcaster is a gift. And it's a gift to get to be introduced to so many incredible people and to share their stories on our platform. And I think that's a gift that we can't take for granted. And it's a privilege to be able to do it. And if you're open to the people that you meet and receptive to what they have to say and what they have to share, and your mission is really to just share more of that with a broader audience, like what greater gift?
Yeah. No, 100%. 100%.
Oh, I love it. All right. We've taken up so much of your time. You've mentioned a whole bunch of books, which I will put all of those actually in the show notes because I always ask people to recommend a book that they've read that's impacted their lives professionally or personally. Is there anything else book-wise or any takeaway that I haven't asked you that you want to make sure you get in before we have to say goodbye?
So it's really simple. It's the same book. I bought the book 65, 70 times for people.
Yeah.
I'll just like meet random people and buy the book for them because it changed my life. There are many books that changed my life, but this one is kind of like the foundation of everything. And so what it's called What You Say When You Talk to Yourself.
Ooh.
And so his name is Shad Hemsley. He's the original like speak person, right? And he tells a story. It's basically saying that your subconscious runs 90% of your mind. Why do we do the things we do? Their habits or patterns, how to rework it, how to rewire your mind, so on and so on. So this woman is in a marriage that is kind of loveless, and her husband doesn't want to do anything. All he does is watch football all day. And so she decides she wants to go to this like flyer. It's like a Jim Rohn thing. So Shad go to this thing. And he's like, why are you going to that? It's just a waste of money, blah, blah, blah. So she goes, she gets so he's the original developer of the self-talk books. Yeah. Or like tapes. So she turns it on. He's watching football. She turns it on in the kitchen and he says, turn that crap off. I don't want to hear that. And he goes, you know what? Just turn it down. So she listens to the tape for like 10 days in a row. And every day he's telling her like, turn it up. And then on day like 14 or something like that, he turns off the football game and like comes in the kitchen and like starts dancing with her.
Ah,
And she didn't even
that.
say anything. And what the basic premise was is like he listened to the things without listening to the things,
Right. Mm-hmm.
and reprogrammed like how he viewed the world. And so that book is the first book that I recommend to everybody to start.
That is powerful. Oh, I'm going to have to get that. I try to read every book that my podcast guests recommend. So I look forward to getting that one. Thank you so much. Well, Austin, this has been a true pleasure. You are just an amazing, inspiring human. You are an incredible business person, a great coach. And I love the work that you shared that you're going to be doing on yourself to become the most incredible father. So congratulations to you. And thank you so much for your time. I will put in the show notes links so everybody can follow you. They can follow your podcast. They can find your website. They can learn more about coaching with you. I will put all of that into the show notes. So thank you so much for your time.
Awesome. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Have a great day. We'll talk soon. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the House of Jermar podcast, where wellness starts within. We appreciate you being a part of our community and hope you felt inspired and motivated by our guest. If you enjoyed this episode, please write us a review and share it with friends. Building our reach on YouTube and Apple Podcasts will help us get closer to our mission to empower 1 million women to live all in. You can also follow us on Instagram at House of Jermar and sign up to be a part of our monthly inspiration newsletter through our website, houseofjermar.com. If you or someone you know would be a good guest on the show, please reach out to us at podcast@houseofjermar.com. This has been a House of Jermar production with your host, Gene Collins. Thank you for joining our house.